The atmosphere around Downing Street is thick with tension, a palpable storm of anger and disappointment growing louder by the day. What began as a cautious glimmer of hope for steady leadership has spiraled into a desperate plea for fundamental change. Crowds of ordinary folk, nurses, students, veterans, and small business owners, stand united not in celebration, but in defiance, demanding one unequivocal thing: the immediate resignation of Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Behind the polished rhetoric and meticulously crafted public image lies a government teetering on the brink, entangled in a web of broken pledges, internal dissent, and escalating public distrust. This isn't merely political turbulence, it's a profound crisis shaking the very heart of Britain's capital, with far-reaching consequences that could fundamentally reshape the nation's future. The fissures in Starmer's leadership are no longer concealed beneath the surface, they are now glaringly impossible to overlook. What started as murmurs of dissatisfaction within the Labour Party has spilled onto the streets, where the frustration amongst voters and party members alike intensifies daily. Starmer's recent attempts to stifle opposition by suspending several Labour MPs for challenging welfare reforms and planning legislation have ignited a fierce backlash. Many accuse him of suppressing genuine debate and penalising those who dare to champion the vulnerable. This disciplinary crackdown, intended to assert control, has only deepened divisions within the party and widened the chasm between its leadership and grassroots supporters. The public, too, feels the strain. Trust in Starmer's government has plummeted as policies appear inconsistent and bewildering. One day, Starmer pledges robust action on immigration. The next, he pivots to pro-business agendas or social justice initiatives. This wavering stance leaves many feeling uncertain and abandoned. Meanwhile, crucial voices from within government and public services are being silenced through stringent new regulations requiring Downing Street stamp of approval before speaking publicly. This gag order threatens transparency and fuels anxieties that critical issues are being hidden from the public. Opinion polls reflect this escalating unease. A significant majority now believe Starmer's government is no better, and potentially even worse, than the Conservative administration it replaced. Public support is eroding, and rival parties are gaining ground, signalling a volatile political landscape. Economic anxieties, the soaring cost of living, and concerns about crime only add fuel to the fire, prompting many to question whether Starmer possesses the vision and fortitude needed to steer Britain through its current predicament. Amidst this turmoil, protests have erupted outside Downing Street. Far from being extremist gatherings, these assemblies comprise everyday citizens who feel overlooked and betrayed by a leadership they once placed their faith in. Nurses on the front lines, students apprehensive about their futures, veterans, and small business owners are all unified by a shared sense of urgency. Their message is unequivocal: the era of empty promises and cautious politicking is over. The public demands action, accountability, and, above all, a leader who truly listens. As whispers of a major government reshuffle circulate, the pivotal question remains: can Starmer regain control and rebuild trust before the cracks widen into an irreparable chasm? Or is the Labour Party on the precipice of a historic upheaval, compelled to confront a deepening crisis that threatens to consume it from within? The stage is set for a dramatic showdown, with the future of British politics hanging precariously in the balance. Starmer's leadership crisis isn't confined to his handling of internal party dynamics. It's intricately linked to broader questions of how his government is tackling the nation's most pressing challenges. The public's patience is wearing thin as they observe a Prime Minister who seems caught between competing demands, struggling to offer clear direction. This struggle is painfully evident in how his government has addressed immigration, welfare, and the economy, issues that have become the daily concerns of millions of Britons. Take immigration, for instance. Starmer entered office vowing to manage the flow of people entering the country in a manner that was both firm and equitable. Yet, the reality is far more intricate and less convincing. The government's agreement with France, aimed at detaining and repatriating illegal migrants in exchange for legal entries, has drawn sharp criticism from all quarters. Refugee advocates condemn it as inhumane, contending it disregards the fundamental reasons compelling people to flee their homes. Conversely, some Conservatives argue it doesn't go far enough, accusing the government of being weak on border control. Meanwhile, residents in towns and cities directly affected by migration feel entirely excluded from the discussion. This disconnect fuels frustration and distrust, exacerbating the growing unrest on the streets. Welfare reforms have also become a flashpoint. Starmer's initiative to cut £5 billion from welfare spending, a move intended to balance the books and incentivise work, has sharply divided opinion. Many within the Labour Party view these cuts as a betrayal of the party's traditional tenets. When over 120 MPs rebelled against the plan, Starmer's decision to suspend some of them sent shockwaves through the political world. It was a move that underscored the Prime Minister's resolve to maintain his stance, but it also laid bare just how precarious his grip on his own party has become. The public observes this infighting with increasing dismay, questioning whether their leaders can ever unite to address the genuine issues facing the country. The economy itself is another source of concern. Despite pledges of stability and growth, many Britons face escalating living costs, stagnant wages, and uncertainty about the future. Inflation remains high, and everyday essentials, food, fuel, housing, are increasingly out of reach for a large segment of the population. Starmer's government has introduced some measures aimed at easing the burden, but critics contend these are too little, too late. Businesses, particularly small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, are voicing increasing frustration over a palpable lack of clear support and an overly complicated regulatory landscape. For ordinary voters, the question is straightforward. Will this government truly safeguard their livelihoods and enhance their quality of life, or will it continue to falter as challenges mount? One of the most damaging perceptions currently undermining Starmer's leadership has been his government's handling of transparency and accountability. New directives demanding that public officials, from civil servants to NHS chiefs, obtain approval from Downing Street before speaking publicly have deeply alarmed many. This move, intended to ensure message discipline, instead appears to be a heavy-handed clampdown on open communication. For a democracy fundamentally built on openness and trust, this is a worrying indication. Citizens are eager to hear candid conversations about complex issues, not sanitized statements engineered to protect a political image. Meanwhile, the party's internal dynamics mirror the broader crisis. Starmer faces pressure from all directions: hardline centrists demanding discipline and order, left-wing activists calling for a return to Labour's foundational principles, and a restless public seeking genuine leadership. This tension manifests in private meetings and very public disagreements, with no easy resolution in sight. Many MPs quietly express exhaustion and frustration, feeling torn between their loyalty to their leader and their unwavering commitment to their constituents. Beyond the immediate political and economic issues lies a deeper crisis of confidence, a prevalent feeling amongst many Britons that their voices no longer truly matter. This sentiment is precisely why the protests outside Downing Street continue to swell, why union flags flutter not in pride but in defiance. These gatherings are not orchestrated by extremists or fringe groups. They are driven by hard-working, tax-paying citizens who simply desire a government that genuinely reflects their concerns. The mood is somber but resolute. They are weary of broken promises and of leadership that appears more preoccupied with image than with substantive action. Media scrutiny and future prospects. The media plays a pivotal role in shaping this evolving narrative. While some outlets remain steadfastly loyal to Starmer, others are relentless in their criticism, amplifying public dissatisfaction. Social media platforms are buzzing with debate, outrage, and impassioned calls for change, making it increasingly difficult for the government to control its message. Starmer's carefully cultivated image, once a symbol of competence and steadiness, is now under constant assault. Looking ahead, the crucial question isn't solely whether Starmer can cling to power, but whether he can alter course swiftly enough to rebuild trust. The upcoming reshuffle, widely anticipated for September, is viewed as a make-or-break moment. Will it inject fresh energy and innovative ideas? Or will it merely deepen the sense of crisis by reshuffling familiar faces without tackling the underlying problems? Britain stands at a critical juncture. The unrest outside Downing Street is a symptom of a broader unease, a clear signal that people are demanding more than mere political gamesmanship. They want leadership that listens, comprehends, and acts decisively. Starmer's future, and indeed the future of the Labour Party, hinges on whether they can deliver precisely that before the crisis becomes irreparably deep. The pressure on Keir Starmer isn't just emanating from the streets or within his own party, it's intensifying within the very corridors of government. Reports of unrest within the Cabinet and Whitehall reveal a leadership struggling to maintain control. Ministers tasked with delivering key policies are frequently sidelined or overruled, fostering a pervasive sense of confusion and frustration that permeates through the civil service. This dysfunction stands in stark contrast to the orderly government Starmer promised, and it raises serious questions about his capacity to manage the complex machinery of state during turbulent times. Behind closed doors, whispers of a major shake-up are growing louder. Several senior figures are reportedly advocating for radical change, some demanding Starmer step aside, others calling for a complete overhaul of the team. The Prime Minister's close advisers are said to be warning that without swift action, the party risks a catastrophic erosion of public confidence that could spell disaster at the next general election. Yet, Starmer remains publicly defiant, insisting that his government is on track and that critics are simply desperate to see him fail. Meanwhile, opposition parties are sensing an opportunity. The Conservatives, though weakened by their own recent scandals, are positioning themselves to capitalize on Labour's instability. The Liberal Democrats and smaller parties are also stepping up their campaigns, focusing on local issues and promising fresh ideas. This intensifying political competition adds another layer of complexity to the crisis. As voters face a crowded field with no clear frontrunner, Starmer's communication strategy has become increasingly defensive. Attempts to control the narrative through scripted press conferences and carefully edited social media posts have largely backfired, leading to accusations of evasiveness and detachment. The public perceives a distinct disconnect between the polished image and the messy reality. This gap is exploited by critics who portray Starmer as out of touch, more interested in optics than substance. Simultaneously, grassroots Labour activists and supporters are expressing escalating frustration. Many feel abandoned by a leadership that appears more concerned with maintaining power than with advancing the party's core values. Local party meetings have witnessed heated debates, with some members openly questioning whether Starmer's vision genuinely aligns with the hopes that propelled him to leadership. This internal dissent threatens to weaken Labour's electoral base precisely when unity is most needed. Economic uncertainty further compounds the unease. Inflation remains stubbornly high, and many families are struggling to cope with spiralling costs. Public services are stretched thin, and debates over funding and priorities continue to divide politicians and the public alike. Starmer's promises of fairness and rebuilding Britain are yet to translate into tangible improvements for most people, fueling skepticism about his government's effectiveness. Public protests show no signs of abating. Demonstrators have become bolder, organizing marches and rallies that are attracting broad support. The message is unequivocal: they demand genuine change, not mere political theatre. This growing unrest reflects a deep-seated dissatisfaction with the status quo and a strong desire for leadership that truly listens and acts decisively. As this crisis unfolds, the pivotal question remains: can Keir Starmer navigate these turbulent waters and restore public confidence, or will the mounting pressures prove insurmountable? The coming weeks and months will be crucial not only for his political career but also for the future direction of the United Kingdom itself. The nation watches intently, waiting to see if its leadership will rise to the challenge, or if this crisis will deepen into something far more severe. The far-reaching fallout and financial strain. Behind the scenes, the fallout from this crisis is rippling through every corner of British politics and society. The once unshakable image of Keir Starmer as a calm, competent leader has fractured, exposing vulnerabilities that his opponents are eagerly exploiting. Confidence among party donors is wavering, with some questioning whether their investments are still secure. Fundraising efforts have slowed, and whispers of financial strain within Labour's ranks are becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. This financial uncertainty threatens the party's capacity to mount a robust campaign when the next general election looms. The media landscape is intensifying the pressure. Major newspapers, broadcasters, and digital platforms are relentless in their scrutiny. Headlines scream of turmoil and rebellion, painting a picture of a government on the brink. Opinion pieces dissect every misstep, every contradictory statement, deepening the narrative of decline. Social media is a battlefield of opinions and outrage, where viral clips of protests and fiery speeches dominate feeds and fuel public anger. In this digital age, controlling the narrative has become as crucial as governing itself, and on this front, Starmer's team is struggling to keep pace. Beyond politics, the impact of this unrest is being felt across the country. Businesses are watching anxiously as uncertainty grows. Consumer confidence is dipping, investments are stalling, and markets are responding nervously to the instability. Local communities, already grappling with rising costs and stretched public services, face added anxiety about what continued political chaos might mean for their future. The sense of national unease is seeping into everyday conversations, as people wonder whether the leaders they chose can deliver stability, or if more turbulent times lie ahead. Institutional strain and calls for change. Public institutions, too, are caught in the storm. Civil servants are reporting low morale amidst shifting priorities and unclear directives. Key projects are facing delays or cancellations as ministers clash or lose focus. In sectors like healthcare, education, and law enforcement, where effective leadership is vital, uncertainty is trickling down, affecting service delivery and public trust. The stakes are incredibly high. Every failure or delay risks alienating the very people the government exists to serve. Amidst this mounting crisis, calls for leadership change are growing louder. Some Labour figures are advocating for a transition, urging Starmer to step aside for someone better equipped to unite both the party and the country. Others warn that division at this critical juncture could hand victory to rival parties, thereby prolonging instability. The debate is fierce but often conducted behind closed doors, as public unity remains a fragile and precious commodity. As public protests continue and political battles rage within Westminster, the fate of Starmer's government hangs in the balance. The Prime Minister's ability to adapt, listen, and deliver tangible results will determine whether he can weather this storm, or whether this chapter in British politics ends in upheaval. For the people watching from the sidelines, hope for renewal clashes with the fear of a deeper crisis. The coming weeks promise drama and uncertainty, with every decision carrying weight far beyond the corridors of power. The question on everyone's mind is clear: can Starmer turn this crisis into an opportunity for genuine change? Or is the era of his leadership coming to a premature and turbulent end? Only time will tell. The crisis currently gripping Downing Street is far more than a mere political squabble. It's a stark reflection of a nation at a genuine tipping point. Britain is grappling with widespread uncertainty, profound frustration, and a deep-seated yearning for leadership that truly listens and acts decisively. Keir Starmer's tenure as Prime Minister has been notably marked by unfulfilled promises and escalating disillusionment, leaving many to question not only his capabilities but also the very trajectory in which the country is heading. The protests swelling outside the very gates of power are not simply acts of dissent, but a loud, unmistakable cry for fundamental change, accountability, and a new caliber of leadership firmly grounded in empathy and unwavering resolve. Starmer's attempts to maintain control through disciplinary actions and meticulously managed communications have demonstrably failed to quell the rising tide of public anger. Instead, these efforts have inadvertently exposed deep-seated fault lines within the Labour Party itself, further eroding trust and leaving a significant number of supporters feeling abandoned and unheard. Behind the polished public facade lies a party fractured by competing visions and seemingly haunted by the shadow of past failures, struggling profoundly to reconcile its identity with the demands of a rapidly changing political landscape. Meanwhile, the opposition is keenly sensing an opportunity amidst the chaos, sharpening their rhetoric and meticulously preparing to exploit Labour's vulnerabilities in the forthcoming election. Yet, beyond the immediate political manoeuvring, the stakes are profoundly personal for millions of Britons who are facing economic hardship, significant public service cuts, and a future clouded by pervasive uncertainty. The widening chasm between the political elites and ordinary people has never felt more stark, dangerously fueling a sense of alienation and deep despair. Internal strife and shifting public sentiment. Within the government itself, the atmosphere is palpably tense and uncertain. Ministers who once rallied around Starmer are now whispering doubts and serious worries about the sustainability of his leadership. The looming reshuffle is widely perceived as a pivotal moment, either a genuine chance for renewal or a direct prelude to even deeper instability. The Prime Minister's ability to inspire confidence amongst his colleagues, and crucially, among the wider public, will be absolutely vital in the weeks ahead. However, the challenges are immense. They involve meticulously balancing competing demands, urgently addressing pressing economic and social crises, and restoring a much-needed sense of purpose and clear direction to both a party and a country currently in disarray. The recent revelations concerning severe security breaches and widespread unrest within Britain's prisons only compound the pervasive sense of a nation struggling profoundly to maintain order and public safety. Such crises underscore the urgent and undeniable need for decisive governance, a quality many feel has yet to be convincingly demonstrated by the current leadership. Public sentiment is shifting rapidly. Poll after poll consistently shows dwindling support for Starmer's Labour government, with voters increasingly sceptical of its promises and profoundly frustrated by perceived indecisiveness. The image of a leader who once inspired hope has noticeably dimmed, replaced by pervasive doubts about his actual ability to deliver meaningful change. The people demand action, not mere rhetoric, concrete results, not rehearsed speeches. They want a government that confronts problems head-on rather than perpetually sidestepping difficult decisions. This mounting impatience has undeniably transformed into a potent political force that simply cannot be ignored, a force that will undoubtedly shape the trajectory of British politics for years to come. A test of democracy and the path ahead. At its very core, this crisis represents a profound test of democracy itself. It fundamentally challenges the relationship between leaders and the led, between power and responsibility. It forces a reckoning with the crucial question of what leadership truly means in times of crisis. Is it sufficient merely to be competent and cautious? Or must a leader truly inspire, unify, and act boldly? For Keir Starmer, the answers to these critical questions will determine not only his political survival but also the future of the Labour Party and the country as a whole. The coming months will be absolutely critical, as the government faces not only the immediate pressures of protests and internal party dissent but also the longer-term challenges of economic recovery, social cohesion, and Britain's international standing. The public's demands are clear and unambiguous: transparency, accountability, and genuine engagement. They want leaders who listen without pretense, who act without fear, and who consistently prioritize the needs of the many over the narrow interests of the few. As tensions rise and political battles within Westminster intensify, the ultimate question remains: can Starmer genuinely rise to the occasion, truly transform this crisis into an opportunity for real, systemic change, and effectively rebuild the trust so deeply eroded over the past year? Or will this critical chapter close on a Labour government crippled by internal division, ultimately unable to meet the hopes and fundamental expectations of those it seeks to serve? For the British people, the stakes have never been higher. Their patience, already stretched thin by ongoing economic struggles and pervasive social uncertainty, is nearing its absolute limit. The unrest outside Downing Street is a clear symptom of deeper anxieties, a fervent yearning for a future marked not by political games, but by honest, impactful leadership and tangible, real progress. The path forward is uncertain, fraught with inherent risks and immense challenges, but it also carries the profound possibility of renewal and genuine hope. How this unfolding story ultimately plays out will undoubtedly shape the course of the United Kingdom for generations to come.